Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today I'm going to be bringing you a guide to show you how I monitor my frame rate and my CPU, GPU usage in my videos. A lot of people are always asking me how I monitor this stuff, and I know a lot of you out there are, been using PCs for years, and I'm sure most of you know already that I use MSI Afterburner, but there are many people that ask me what I actually use, and for some of you that already know, I'm also going to be taking you through some of the customization options that you can do in here, like custom fonts and text colors that maybe you weren't familiar with, so hopefully there's something in here for everyone. So to get started though, for the people that aren't familiar at all with what I use, it's called MSI Afterburner. You can just go ahead and Google it. I'll put a link down in the description below as well to MSI Afterburner. It's a program you can download. You can use this for overclocking, setting custom fan curves, and it also works with NVIDIA and AMD. So that's one of the great things about this program among many others. So like I said, you could do overclocking in here if you wanted to, at your own risk. But we're really going to be concerning ourselves with the overlay that I use in videos and also how to customize that to your experience. Now, the overlay that they show in games is actually run by Riva Tuner, which comes bundled with Afterburner. When you're installing Afterburner, it'll give you a couple tick boxes if you want to install a Riva Tuner along with it, so you want to make sure you do that. And that's really what controls your overlay in a lot of the software here. But starting off in Afterburner, we can go into settings at the bottom right here. In case you're wondering, I am using a custom skin, so that's why mine looks different. You can come to the user interface tab in here and you could change it. There's a lot of different options in here, as well as you can get some skins from DeviantArt if you want. The one that I'm using is called Elegant Black and White Skin by GrumD over on DeviantArt, so if you want to check that out, if I can remember, I'll put a link in the description for you if you want to try it. The first thing I have customized in here is my polling period. This is how fast the data actually updates for when it's checking your performance in game, your CPU, GPU usage, temperatures, things like that. So by default, this was set at 1,000 milliseconds, which is kind of quick, but it's kind of slow as well. I have it to 100 now so that I have more frequent updates and I'm getting more accurate real-time information. So that's one thing that you can do. You can customize that to whatever speed that you want, and the bars in your graphs here will go along faster and the numbers will update more frequently when you are in game using this. And we have our frame rates here. You can see you can customize all of these graphs here to be whatever you want and put this in any order you want. So I have frame rate first because I want that to be first. And if you ever want to reorganize these, you can just grab them and drag them and put them in the different order that you want. And you could try it out and open up a game and see how it looks and adjust it to try to get it the way that you want it exactly. So the way I have it set up now is that I have my frame rate first, and I have my 2 GPU usage. I've also got my GPU video memory usage as well as my CPU usage. Now, there are also options in here for temperatures, core clocks if you want to monitor that stuff, CPU temperatures, GPU temperatures, and I also have CPU usage with different numbers. So you see it says CPU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It goes all the way down to 12 for me. Since I'm using a 6-core CPU with hyper-threading, it shows up as 12 cores. If you were using a standard i7, like a 4790K, it would show up as 8 cores or 8 threads in here, and an i5 would just be 4. Again, like an FX 8350 or an 8320 for AMD would show up as 8. So you would see your how much actual usage you're getting on each of your threads, which can be valuable information if you're testing out a game and you want to know if it's maybe being limited because of the fact that you only have 4 cores, or maybe the game is just poorly optimized and it's only using like 2 cores. For example, I play a game called Euro Truck Simulator 2, which doesn't really scale up very well on multiple cores and multiple threads, as it only uses 2 threads at any one time. So that's something you could monitor in this and try to get an idea of maybe if you were seeing a bottleneck, like your GPU wasn't being fully utilized, you could see the multiple CPU threads being used and try to get a better idea of it. And there are a lot of options in here which you can turn on if you want to. And all of this data is stored here in your hardware monitor, which I'll show you here. So it's all stored right in here. You have all these graphs, all this tons of information. But that's not everything that's going to show up on your screen in game. For that, you're going to want to make sure you actually click on one of the options. So like frame rate here, make sure you clicked on that. And then you come right here and it says show in on-screen display. So if you check that, then that's going to actually show it in game on your overlay. So if you do want to monitor your frame rate, make sure that that box is checked right there. If you want to monitor your GPU usage, make sure that box is checked. And it's kind of cumbersome, but you have to go onto each one of these and click each one and click show an on-screen display if it's something you want to show in your on-screen display. So you can, if you want to just see frame rate, you can just see frame rate. If you want to add to that, you can add to that. If you're concerned about temperatures, you can monitor your temperatures. It's really whatever you want to do. And you could also change it the way these show up in game. So by default, it'll show up as like GPU 1, GPU 2. But you can see here, if I go to GPU 1, I've actually chosen to override the group name, so now it says 980 Ti number 1, so that I can actually see that in game on the overlay, and so you guys can see it. I don't, maybe in the future, now that I'm using this, I won't have to explain what GPUs I'm using because it'll say it right on screen. You could also override the graph name if you want, so if on the actual graphs here, whatever you want it to show up as, if you want it a little bit easier to read or a little bit better naming, then you can customize all of that right in there. Coming over to our on-screen display options, you can set a hotkey if you want to toggle the on-screen display on and off. I have mine set to page up so that if I'm in game, I can just hit page up and it'll just turn it on and off whenever I need it to show up. And I always have Afterburner running in my system tray so that it's in there. I do that mostly for monitoring games as well as my custom fan curve so that I always have that set up and ready to go when my system does boot up. Alright, so that pretty much covers what we need to look at in MSI Afterburner. Let's go ahead and switch gears and move over to Riva Tuner Statistics Server. So we have this up over here on the right, and there's a lot of different options in here because you can actually go to separate games or things like that and actually customize your settings based on that specific one. But I'm really only going to be concerned in here with the global setting, which is what it'll be on by default, and this will just, like it says, globally, it's going to adjust it for everything. So any 3D applications you open up where you have your overlay on, it's going to adjust it for that. So there are a lot of options in here, but the most important one really is on-screen display support. You want to make sure that that's on, and our on-screen display rendering mode. Now, by default, this is going to be set to vector 2D or 3D. But if you want to do something like custom fonts, you're going to want to go to raster 3D. And this is actually an option I just learned about recently where you can customize your font. So if you hit this little drop-down arrow here, which is kind of hidden, I feel, you can go ahead and actually set custom fonts to be whatever you want. So it could be a little bit clearer to read. I get my fonts from a website called defont.com. The one that I have set up right now to use with it, which you'll be seeing when I show you the overlay, is Keep Calm. That's the font I'm currently using. But you can find whatever you want on here if you want to see what it's going to actually look like. You can go ahead and type in whatever your message is going to be, and that'll give you an idea of what the font will look like on the overlay. And then you could just download the fonts from them completely free, and then install them on your system like you normally would with any font. That's not really going to be covered in today's guide, though, for installing fonts. I'm sure you can figure it out, though. It's quite easy. But then you could just choose your fonts here. As long as you have your fonts installed on Windows, you can select whatever font you have installed on here. Like, so for example, I have one in here called Price Down, which is actually a GTA font. So if I was doing maybe like a Grand Theft Auto video and I wanted to have a Grand Theft Auto themed font for this, then I could definitely do that. That's an awesome option to have here. Rainbow right there. I've got a Rainbow 6 font. So if I was doing a Rainbow 6 video in the future, maybe I'll use a Rainbow 6 font to sort of suit the content better. You can also set it bold, italic, or whatever if they have an option for it right there. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that right now. But the one I'm using is called Keep Calm. And you're also going to want to make sure you do your on-screen display palette if you want to customize the color. So if you come over here, you can see I have mine set to green right now, but you could set this to anything in the RGB color scale that you want. So anything in here, you can customize it to a custom color or use one of their preset basic colors if you want. I'm using green because I thought it would show up quite well. And I also have the display shadow showed up so that there is a slight black outline going around the actual overlay itself, so it makes it a little bit easier to read and kind of separate it from the background. I feel that shows up a lot better. And if you want, you can also customize the size of it by just changing this slider right here for how big that it's going to show up on screen when you are in game. But that's going to wrap it up for this tutorial on how to use MSI Afterburner and customizing your overlay. So if you have any more questions that I didn't answer here today, something I can cover for you, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll try to answer you the best that I can. But hopefully this kind of gave you a good idea of, the way I do my overlay in games. And if you want to monitor your performance for making videos, or just because you're curious to how your games are running and your system is holding up under load, then by all means, go ahead and check out MSI Afterburner. Really great software. I've been using it for years. But I'm going to get out of here, and I will catch you guys next time. Ta-ra.